Hello and what is up YouTube? My name is G3 Iron and today we are taking a look at the Legion cheat sheet. So first off, thank you so much, I believe, to rayclass.com and to user on Reddit Darksplays for assembling this glorious and beautiful cheat sheet. Here is the miniaturized version. This is what it looks like on Reddit. There's actually some links and some mobile editions of this that are available as well. So those of you that are watching via your mobile device or are maybe just hoping to have a mobile image to be able to pull up on your phone while you're playing the game, Path of Exile on your PC or maybe on your Xbox or PlayStation 4. Those are alternative methods for you to do so. So what is this? This is the Legion cheat sheet. It shows you and goes into detail all of the various aspects discovered so far about the mechanics of Legion. Now, there's been a lot of discussion over the last several leagues that we as a community in general, we're hoping for a more simple league. And that's supposedly what Legion is, and yet at the same time there is still a layer of complexity to be discovered, to be delved into, to be mined, to be interacted with, and to be explored. And so we all love that. Those of us that love playing Path of Exile and discovering new things, it's very, very fun to do. And thankfully, there is a one-stop shop, as it were, for all of the Legion information that has been assembled thus far. If at any point in time during our discussion you'd like to jump ahead or review anything, you can click on any of the timestamps that are placed above my slightly balding forehead. And of course, those are hot linked for you down below in the video description, as are all of the various links that we are showing off today. So this is what the cheat sheet looks like up close and personal. We're just going to go through it here today during our discussion. So first off, Legion spawn as well as timeless conflict logic plus strategy. So when a Legion spawns, the rarity of mobs increases when it's further out from the monolith as a general rule. Occasionally, there are boss spawns at the corners. It always tries to spawn on two ends of roads or tunnels. So you can see that from the diagram posted here. The strategy, therefore, is to clear around the monolith, which is optional unless you're playing Essence Drain Contagion, in which case you're just going to clear everything anyway. Once clicked the monolith, run away from it, kill boss, if any, or chests and mobs with icons, rush to another corner, depending on remaining time. Timeless conflict, the logic is as follows. Put two or more emblems on the map device. The more emblems you put, the higher the map device level. Complete 4 emblem fight in order to unlock the 5-slot device. Stand in the middle zone to start and spawn and respawn mobs. There is a 30-second respawn cooldown for bosses and green marks on minimap for the bosses. You can see the generalized locations via the diagram there. So the strategy for running the Timeless Conflict is to locate all boss spawn locations before the fight and then to start the fight by standing in the circle in the very middle. You then clear mobs and bosses in the first half of the area. Then you stand in the circle since you're running right by it in order to resurrect. And then complete the second half of the area. And then as you're coming by again, stand in the circle in order to resurrect. So that way there's always stuff there for you. If you, for instance, just clear one end and then clear the other end and then come back to the middle, you're essentially wasting time. Stand in the circle to resurrect mobs and repeat 1 through 4 as fast as possible. All right, second thing, Legion jewels. These have been the subject of much discussion, much chatter in multiple different circles on the forums and on Reddit. So the code isn't cracked, as it were, in the same way that synthesis code was cracked, but it is cracked in the sense that we know at least what the numbers mean and at least what the names correlate to. So the numbers can roll random mods, and you can use a divine on these. The name at the end of each of these particular jewels rolls various keystones that would then be affected by the jewel's placement. So the logic for these particular jewels is as follows. Nodes within the circle of the jewel will receive certain modifications. First off, they can completely change to roll random mods. They can add an extra random mod to an original status, essentially potentially making stuff that you're already getting through on your passive tree simply better. They can make the original mod go away, they can remove it, and they can grant no effect, which that's the Eternal Empire only. Then there are random mods, which are rolled from a pool of mods. Each faction has a different pool of mods to roll from. Use a divine orb, which can reroll both the number and the name. The Templar Jewel has 2 extra lines with effects scaling with devotion. Okay, so about devotion. It's arbitrary stats. It only applies to the Templar Jewels only. The Templar Jewels, not the Templar class. Those I already can hear people asking questions about why is it that the Templars as a class get a buff for this mechanic. That's the faction. It's not the class, as in the Templar, the guy with the really long neck. Okay, so the jewel itself grants 2 random effects per 10 devotion, and random notables will be changed to grant random effects when you have 150 devotion. So essentially, it only rewards you as you gain devotion stacks, and once you reach a devotion threshold, there is a whole new effect or sets of effects that become available to you. So here's the table that matters, as it were. So the Karuyai, the Eternal Empire, the Vol, the Templar, and the Maraketh, those are our 5 factions that we are interacting with and fighting in the Legion 5 armies fight. They are common, average, rare, and then very rare. They have various frozen colors, so if you're looking simply to identify these things by their colors, we've all learned since playing with Breach over the years that you can identify what kind of breach it is very, very quickly by the sorts of attacks and animations that are going on inside a breach. And so something similar being here is to identify very, very quickly what style of monolith and what armies are involved with the monolith depending on their spawn formation as well as their frozen color. The jewel effects on small nodes for the Karuyai is simply plus 2 to 4 strength. The Eternal Empire simply removes small node effects. Vol changes to random mods. The Templar gives you 5 devotion or changes to 10 devotion, and then the Maraketh give you 2 or 4 dex. The jewel effects on notables for Karuyai are random mods. On Eternal Empire are random mods or change to other random mods. The Vol is changed to random mods. The Templar is devotion as well as or change random mods. And then the Maraketh is simply random mods. Okay, so the keystones that we've got so far. The Karuyai, they've got the Comb keystone, which that replaces Strength of Blood. Recovery from Life Leech is not applied. 1% less damage taken for every 2% recovery per second from Life Leech. The Karuyai Rakiata, which is tempered by war, that's the keystone it replaces. 50% of cold and lightning damage taken as fire damage. 50% less cold resistance, 50% less lightning resistance. Karuyai Keloava, glancing blows. Chance to block attack damage is doubled. Chance to block spell damage is doubled. You take 50% of damage from blocked hits. All right, moving down into the Eternal category. You've got Kadairo, which replaces Supreme Decadence. Life recovery from flasks also applies to Energy Shield. 30% less life recovery from flask. You've got Victario, Supreme Grandstanding. Nearby allies and enemies share charges with you. Enemies hitting you have 10% chance to gain an Endurance, Frenzy, or Power Charge. And then Chittas, the Supreme Ego. That's the keystone it replaces, but I love that name. You can only have 1 aura on you from your skills. Your aura skills do not affect allies. 50% more effective auras from your skills on you. 50% more mana reserved. All right, and the Vol. Divine Flesh, all damage taken bypasses Energy Shield. 50% of elemental damage taken as chaos damage. 10% to maximum chaos resistance. Zerfi, Eternal Youth is replaced, which gives 50% less life regeneration rate, 50% less maximum total recovery per second from Life Leech. Energy Shield recharge instead applies to life. And Doriani, the last of the Vol, Corrupted Soul, 50% of non-chaos damage taken bypasses Energy Shield. Gain 20% of maximum life as extra maximum Energy Shield. The Templar replaces the Agnostic. Maximum Energy Shield is 0. While not on full life, sacrifice 20% of mana per second to recover that much life. You've got Dominus, which replaces Inner Conviction. 3% more spell damage per power charge. Gain power charges instead of frenzy charges. And lastly, for the Templar, Avarius, which replaces Power of Purpose. 80% of maximum mana is converted to twice that much armor. And lastly, we've got the Maraketh. Wind Dancer, 20% less damage taken if you haven't been hit recently, 40% less evasion rating if you haven't been hit recently, 20% more evasion rating if you've been hit recently. Asenath, which replaces Dance with Death. You can't use helmets. Your critical strike chance is lucky. Your damage with critical strike chance is lucky. Enemies' damage with critical strikes against you is lucky. And the last one, Nasima, which replaces Second Sight. You are blind. Blind does not affect your light radius. 25% more melee critical strike chance while blinded. So there you have it. Thanks so much for compiling this beautiful cheat sheet to everybody over at rayclass.com, which this is what rayclass.com looks like for those of you who are wondering. It's got a league hub. It's got a bunch of different little subsections for each different league that they have covered so far. So Legion, Betrayal, Delve, Incursion, Essence, as well as Synthesis down below. Synthesis, of course, isn't core right now. Maybe someday it'll come back. Anyway, thanks so much for the folks over there, as well as all of the folks on Reddit for contributing, for putting this beautiful tool together. Of course, all of these links are provided down below in the video description. If you've got any feedback or you've got any strategies that you found that are particularly fruitful and applicable for the Legion mechanic, feel free to leave them as a comment down below for the benefit of the community. And as always, thanks so much for watching, and I hope today is the day a Mirror of Calandra will drop for you as you are encountering the endless hordes of the Legion armies. Thanks for watching that video. If you'd like more information on any of our discussion points today, you can see them down below in the video description. If you'd also like to join our Discord or support our Patreon, you can do so with the links down below. Thanks again, and big shout out to all of our Patreon supporters.